Right, good day, guys, and I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm also doing well. Just a little ups and downs, but it will get better. Sure. So, as you well know, the semester is still running, and we're already in the sixth week. Now, fortunately, Sakai for main campus students is up now. Hooray! So what that means then is that I get to enjoy here. Um, Coming Saturday, we'll take the test for 10 marks. Test for 10 marks. So, what is important for you is that those of you who, especially those doing HEC, do check your Sakai and be sure that Sakai is 112 is on your Sakai so that you can participate in the test. If it is not on your Sakai, you won't be able to participate. Let me repeat. If it is not on your Sakai, you won't be able to participate. And that would mean you are losing 10 good marks. So then I will encourage you to give your index numbers to the TAs, teaching assistants, for onward submission to me by close of day Thursday. By close of day Thursday. Because if I get it by close of day Thursday, then I would add you by Friday so that you can participate on Saturday. Unfortunately, Saturday I won't be available. And so if you bring your index number on Saturday, you won't be added and you can't take part in the test. And that will not be my doing. I beg you. I wouldn't want that to happen. I want every one of you to get 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So please make sure you do that. Again, be careful to put your name under your school, either city campus or main campus, either city campus or main campus. Some of you have already made the mistake and you are in city campus, but now 0112 main campus is appearing on your site. I can't help it. I can't take you off at this time. So don't make the mistake, because when we are collating your results, it will become difficult because we are not in the know that we can't find you anywhere. And so please be responsible enough. When we're doing the main campus one, I did tell you that if you are in city campus, don't include your name. But some of you did, and now you are crying foul. So the only thing I can assure you is that for those of you who have already joined the main campus one, maybe you just have to I would say that you see the difference between the main campus and the city campus. You see that the main campus, the number is 4, and the city campus, the number is 1. So you follow the city campus one. So add your name to them if you already follow the city campus one. So then you do all your tests on the city campus site so that you can get your results and quality from there. That's the best advice I can do. But if by any means you can delete the main campus from your site, fine. So please, I'm taking time to stress this because you need to be careful about it. Where you put your name, that is where I'm going to add you. Unfortunately, when I'm adding, I won't be able to see whether you are in city campus and I'm adding you to the main campus because your index numbers does not indicate main or city. So please be mindful of that. And Saturday we'll do the test. Modalities of the test would be given to you by Friday so that you know. But there will be 10 marks that you'll be struggling for. The truth is that you won't get the same questions so that you can cheat, and sometimes you even put the answer on the platform. Oh, you these people, you're interesting and I like you. So we'll put the modality. You won't get the same question. The questions will be randomized and what they call rationalized. So I'm sorry for you. Just that you have to read. And unfortunately, it is sad for me to say that the books are still not in. Meanwhile, not many of you have even paid. I hear not even about 250 of you have paid. We are almost 2,000 students, and not all a little above 215, as at my checks yesterday, had paid. And so you are not even paying. And unfortunately, the books are not here. But let's see, there will be a final determination on the book by next week. If by next week the books doesn't come, we'll see what we can do. But truth is, as for my slides, we are not giving them to you. No. Because the problem really is that when we give them to you, like this year, what happened? Even before you started the course, you received the slides from RISAG. And that is sad. It's not right. It's not proper. By whatever, I'm not obliged to give you slides. I'm obliged to give you lectures. I'm obliged to give you reading materials. And that we have done. We have given you a course outline that determines the books that you can read. And so that we have done. We are not under any obligation. So you take note. That is why academic, study, you learn how to take note. And some of you have even been taking, almost all of you have been taking pictures of the slides. That one, I can't control it, but I know how to manage you. So, so it's fine. But Charlie, so you just prepare in whatever ways. But the questions are not going to be difficult. They are going to be very. If you've only been coming to class, you should be able to answer these questions and pass. All of you pass. All of you pass. Did you say amen? Say amen and then so a see there. Should I give my Momo number 020? All right, so just prepare and then let's make time for it and we'll see how things will go. If you have any questions, we can interact on all the other levels. Right, so for today, we are going to surface, you see, all this while we've been discussing about Christianity from its inception, from its Roman context. Now we want to bring it home. And so we are going to look out for how Christianity came, okay, how Christianity was unveiled in Africa. And I need you to follow and you make a lot of meaning. You understand some few things. Yeah. All right. So we are looking at the Missionary Enterprise. The Missionary Enterprise. Where the Europeans sought to present to us Christianity, but this subject is interesting. Right, so the objectives of this lecture is that by the end you should be able to understand the missionary effort in Africa by the Europeans, and then we will evaluate the impact of European mission, So we are just going to take each of the missionary groups like the Catholic, the Methodist, the Basel, and look out for some of the impact, some of the successes and challenges that they face. And finally, we would also look at African agents in the missionary effort in Africa. And this is very important for me because you see, when the Europeans came, they did not understand our language. They could not speak the local language. So they used interpreters. And you know very well that these interpreters could best be defined as evangelists, as missionaries in themselves. Because the fact of the matter is that translation is not easy. Translation is not easy. Some of you have seen plays and other stuffs of people doing translation. And so if ever some Africans were able to translate what the Europeans were saying into a local language for people to be receptive, then the Africans were missionaries in themselves. And so they should be appreciated as such and be given the thumbs up for their effort in the missionary work. And so we'll look out for these Africans and see what they've got. Because you see, you need to appreciate that when people say that the white man, Christianity is a white man's religion, it can't be true. It certainly cannot be true because look, I'm one of those who belong to the scholarly position that the European did not bring Christianity and that God was already in the African culture. We already believed in God in Africa and we had our understanding of God. The only problem was the vehicle. But we knew God and Christianity, we believe, was here already. In fact, in Africa, I mean, think about it. When you read Acts of the Apostles, Acts chapter 2, where it is said that the Holy Spirit is said to have descended on the apostles and the church was born on that day. If you check the list of people who were there, it included Libya, people from Libya and Egypt. I'm not sure Libya and Egypt is in America. It is in Africa. And so Africans were there on the day of the descent of the Holy Spirit. And so how can you say that? And if over 3,000 gave their lives to Christ on that day, I will bet every coin that an African will be a part of it. African will be an African will be a part of it. And so you can't say that Africans did not know God, Africans did not know Christ, and all of that. No, 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 no. On the day of the birth. No, let's even go back. Let's even go back. When Jesus was to be crucified, we are told that at a point in time he needed help. And somebody from Cyrene, Simon of Cyrene, is said to have carried the cross with Jesus. If that is the case, then we can be sure, and it is without a doubt, that then an African was the one who helped Jesus to carry his cross, because Cyrene is in Libya. Cyrene is in Libya, which is in Africa. So an African is said to have carried the cross with Jesus. So how can you say that? So if this person is noted to have been a disciple of Jesus, then most certainly an African knew Christ, an African met Christ, an African helped Christ. So it is erroneous to say that Christianity is a European religion. Talk less about Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch in, I think that's chapter 8 or so. You see, Philip met the Ethiopian eunuch, baptized him, and you think that when he got to Africa, in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is not in the Pacifics or in Asia, Ethiopia is in Africa. Do you think that his household did not become Christians? He did not share the gospel message with his household? I won't believe that. And so I think strongly that we have missed the mark, and we are beginning to tend to think that Christianity was brought by the European. It can't be so. It can't be true. And that is why we need to talk about the African agent. Look, talk less of the fact that when Jesus was born and Herod wanted to kill Jesus, which group of people offered a safe haven for Jesus? You are told in scripture that he was taken to Egypt. So even when Jesus was born and he needed a place of safety, it was on an African land. So what are you telling us? What are you saying? So if anybody says Christianity is a European religion, then that person does not know his Bible. That person does not know theology. That person does not know history. You don't know history. But if you know history and you understand your scriptures, you will know that Africans have been engaged with the word of God from biblical times, canonical texts. That is what I've used to tell you. And so we need to appreciate what roles Africans have played in the missionary effort in making Christianity. So let's begin the discussion. West African church history is all about the history of how the church was planted in West Africa and its development. West African church history is traced to Elmina in Ghana. So what we are saying is that Christianity in the western part of Africa is traced to Elmina, Ghana. Nowhere but Elmina, Ghana. Although it is said that the church was planted by the Europeans, it is clear from history that God was already here in the culture. That was the point I was making. God was already here in the culture. Additionally, the Europeans could not have had impact on Africa without the help of other African agents. And this is very, very true. You see, when we proceed, we are going to talk about a man, Wade Harris. Wade Harris made a lot of impact on Africans with the Christian message because he spoke the African language, he behaved like the African, and so the Africans were more receptive to him. Because you see, look, let me find out from you. Let me find those of you who are Christians. How many of you dream and you dream in English? You dream in your local language. And so you see, the local affinity. You see, sometimes when you sing, "O nyame boafwe ye yiwa yeda ne ya wo ye mame tenyinenti beje wa ye ji." How does it sound? And then when you sing in English, "O nishe iyanu, you are the God of awesome wonder. I've tasted of your power." You see, it sounds well. But especially when you sing in English, okay, you see the way it sounds. But when you sing in the local dialect, it affects you. It affects you because you feel it from within, because that is you. When you sing the local language, because that is you. So the African culture was not alien to Christianity, because Wade Harris used the African agent. He was preaching and doing everything in G and in the local language. And so the people were more akin to him than the English when Philip Kwaku was there and he did all that he did. And so the African, message, or the African Christianity is planted well by African agents. Now let's make the point that the first messengers of the gospel in Africa is an Ethiopian official who was evangelized and baptized by Philip on the road between Jerusalem and Gaza. Acts chapter 8, I just mentioned. So the Ethiopian Enoch. Although the Bible does not mention it, legend has it that the official returned to his country where he established the first church in Africa. After the Reformation, the Catholic Church was the first to engage in missionary activity. The Pope at the time divided the church into two, Portugal and Spain, and gave the right to do mission. So the point we are making here really is that, you see, after the Reformation, when the Protestants got into it, now the Catholic Church lost a lot of grounds with a lot of churches. A lot of churches broke away, blah, 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 blah. But there was need to gain more lands. There was need to gain more churches. And so the Pope then divided the church, as in the Catholic Church, into the Portuguese Catholic Church and the Spain Catholic Church, so that they can reach out and win a lot of souls into Christianity. And so that was what they did, and they used a lot of energies. And that is why we are saying that the Catholic Church were the first to engage in mission. They were the first missionary churches. So these churches who have come and you are doing to be. The Catholic Church have always been there. Anyway, so it is just like that. The Catholic Church is noted to be the first church who engaged in mission. While Christianity grew in Europe and large part of the northern part of Africa and even in the east, the rest of Africa continued to practice their traditional beliefs for many centuries. So Christianity was growing in Europe, in the northern part of Africa, but the west and even the east, there were some Christian presence, but the west, no, it was not that much, and so there was need. Now, development in shipping and exploratory voyage to discover new worlds assisted the church in the effort to reach hitherto neglected parts of the African continent. And so, yes, between 1421 and 1445, Prince Henry, the navigator, commissioned at least 10 voyages in an attempt to find an alternate route to India. So this was very important because, you see, at the time, trade between Europe and India had gone up. There are a lot of factories, a lot of labor that you could get from India. And remember, this is the period of the slave trade as well. Now, what was happening then was that the route to India was barricaded by some barbarians, some people who would arrest you and take your things and blah, blah, blah. You, let's say, armed robbers, or on the sea, how do they call these people? Jack Sparrow and his people. Pirates. They will be there and all of those things. So Prince Henry and his team needed to get a different route to reach India. And also they wanted to find out if there are other parts of the world apart from Europe and India. And so these voyages, and you see, normally when they are going on these voyages or on these expeditions, because they are Catholics, they would want their spiritual needs also to be met. So they come along a chaplain, a priest as a chaplain to meet their spiritual needs. Because if you are not a priest, you can't serve, you can't give the Eucharist, and you would need the Eucharist. And so a priest is carried on board, and things flow from them. During similar effort by the same church in latter years, the Portuguese sailors made contact with various tribes along the coast of West Africa. Yeah, so the expedition that they sent along, these Portuguese sailors came through, and then they came to West Africa. So it was in 1462 that the Pope in Rome appointed a missionary prefect to promote missionary work in West Africa, and I've already mentioned it. Interestingly, on Sunday, 20th January 1482, a very important date that I think you should note. Sunday, 20th January 1482, Christianity then entered West Africa at Elmina, Edna. That's of the Gold Coast. So St. George Castle is identified as the first site of the arrival of the first Catholic Portuguese Christians. Now, there were over 600 men under the command of Don Diego de Ajambuja. So when they got here, they called the place El Mina, that is to say, in Portuguese, to say the mine. and that was because they found a lot of gold around, and that was how they did. And then as soon as they got here, they erected their flag and did the first communion. So what we are saying is that these people were just walking, then they see land afar, then they come here. So when they got there, they quickly got down, erected the Portuguese flag, and then they said they had their first communion, the first mass. That was on 20th January 1482. 20th January 1482. So that is the date that is reckoned as when Christianity, by the European vehicle, came to the West Africa, because North Africa and East Africa already, Christianity was already explored in those places. And so, yes, now we come to the West, and then the whole thing blossoms. The Portuguese mission experienced their first major breakthrough in 1492. Can you imagine? From all this while. So it was in 1492 that the then Mandingo king of the Bantus tribe became a Christian, and his household and all others then became a Christian. But the truth of the matter is that it is said that he became a Christian because he wanted trade and other things. But yeah, at least he became a Christian, and his household accepted Christ from there. God being so good, Alfonso, his successor, also declared Congo a Christian kingdom, and many of his subjects became Christians. So now we see that Christianity had entered. But worrisomely, the Portuguese mission was not very successful. It had a lot of challenges. Now let's look at the reasons why the Portuguese missions came. I think I've intimated some of them. In the first place, we are saying that they sought to look for lost land to the Protestants. The Protestants had taken over many of the territories in Europe, and so the Catholic Church wanted to establish its footing and be a strong force in Europe, in the world. And so they sought to go out. They didn't want to fight them. They said they are very peaceful. So they rather say, okay, and so they got new lands. And then they sought to increase the membership of the church. Once they get new souls, the membership would increase. But again, they also were looking for lost colonies. They wanted to be in control. And trade was a very important, reason for the mission. Trade was very important for them. And then they sought to explore and know more about the Dark Kingdom. They felt that there are some people who were not known, and so they wanted to know those people. But they had a lot of challenges. The first was a lot of challenges which then impeded the missionary work. And first and foremost, we are saying that they were more interested in trade than ministry. And I think we've made that point over and over again, that the mission did not come as a missionary. They came to look for trade, to look for new lands and to get new people that they can exploit or something like that. But then they had chaplains, and once they come, they would interact, and so they would so they were more interested in the trade rather than religion. That is one. And then number two, very importantly, the moral lives of some of the missionaries. You see, here it's not just the missionaries, but even the Europeans, you see, because the problem was that it was rather difficult to draw a line of symmetry or distinction between the missionary and the explorer, the missionary and the trader, because they are all white. You see, it's like sometimes when blacks will go to Europe, they are not able to distinguish between us. They see all of us are black, they can't tell the difference. So it's just like sometimes when we also see white, we are not able to distinguish the difference. And particularly, you see, don't cast your mind to today, cast it 15th century. So it will be difficult, because you see, even Christians, they drink a lot, the Europeans. And once a person drinks, you cannot be sure what the person will be doing. They lose their senses. That's what alcohol does. I hear the Bible says that give alcohol to the one who is losing it. So when they drink, they do all kinds of things. You see, again, sometimes they had intercourse with the African girls, got them pregnant, and that is actually noted as the emergence of mulattoes or frijatos. Yeah. So you have sex with my daughter, you are not married to her, you impregnate her, and all. Actually, when you come back and you tell me about God, I mean, why would I receive it? And so that moral aspect, and sometimes when in terms of trade, the Africans are cheated. You take some of our men, our boys, and our sons as slaves, and then you come and you tell me about God. So all of these impeded the message of the gospel. Now, health was another major problem. A major problem. Health was another major problem for the European mission, because you see, you heard about malaria and all that it ravaged on the Europeans. Malaria. They come and they die, and so Africa was known as the white man's grave. When they come, they die. And then the financial challenges. You see, missionary work is very demanding. It needs a lot of input, and yet monies were not coming from up there. Further was the issue of language. You see, was when they came, they could not speak our language, so you are just wondering how they communicated. And then for the few times that, just as I was mentioning, the Mandingo king was mass conversion. Some people converted not really because they want to give their life to Christ. It is just like these days when you do crusades and other stuff, people come and they say that, oh, I accept Jesus. It's because of what they will get. That is why they bring themselves and pretend that they have also seen the light, but ultimately they have not cried. So you just have to go ahead and then receive them, but then they have not really accepted Christ. And then the relationship between the missionaries and the colonizers. So that's, as I was talking about, the confusion that they faced. Now let's move on and focus on the Catholic mission alone and look at some of their impact, and then we'll touch on the other missionary groups also. So in terms of the Catholic mission, as was said, they came under the leadership of Don Diego de Adambuja when they were commissioned by Prince Henry, the Navigator, and then they got to Elmina, and various Catholic groups came. In the Catholic Church, there are various societies, groups, and included the Dominicans. They made a lot of impact. Some major Catholic missionaries include, say, James Marshall. So those of you who are in the Catholic Church, you have the Marshallans. They are as a result of Marshall, James Marshall, Augustine Moreau, and then Eugene Morat. These men have really contributed to the Catholic presence, and these are pictures of these three major agents of the Catholic Church who were here, and they had a lot of impact on the people and the missionary work. In terms of the Catholic mission, they impacted by way of education. They built a lot of schools and did what they had to do. Now, it is important to note that in the missionary effort, they use education. But their major problem was language. And so they had to train a few people in the English language so that they could communicate. And so what they did was they established a lot of schools. And today we have the Pope John's, we have the many Catholic schools around, and they did very well. So what usually they did was that they used the Bible as the English textbook. So they taught you how to read and write using the Bible as a textbook. So once you read them, you get familiarized with the stories, and then they teach you and all of those things. So education was very important, and that is why even today you see that the historic mainline churches, they value a lot of education. And so education was one of the major impacts of the Catholic mission. And then health was also for them. You see, the Bator Hospital, many hospitals planted by the missionaries, because when the people are strong, they can hear you. And that is why these days, even when people are doing outreach, they do medical outreach, because once you come to the consultation, whatever the doctor tells you, you take. Yeah, the missionaries were successful in their work of evangelization in Africa in the establishment of schools. Many chiefs and kings in the traditional settings were converted into Christianity, and you see the impact of the Catholic mission even in the royal house, in the royal homes. Okay, the chiefs became Christians, and it flowed on from there. Let's now look at the Basel mission. A few things. These are just introductory issues, so I'm not going deep. We are just giving you the blah blah blah, the top points. So the Basel mission. So those of you who don't know the Basel mission, we are talking about the Presbyterian, what do you call, work in Africa. The Basel mission was a Christian mission started and based in Switzerland. The mission was founded as the German Missionary Society in 1815. So that was its original name, and it later changed to the Basel Evangelical Mission Society. Basel Evangelical Missionary Society, and then eventually it became the Basel Mission. So that is the history of the name. Some of their major players in Ghana were Andrea Rees and Augustus Ramsier. So you realize that many Presbyterian churches are named after Rees and Ramsier for their major impact, major impact. Now, in terms of the Basel mission, they are noted very well for the work of translation. And translation has been very useful to African Christianity when we had the Bible in English so that you could read in English. But apart from English, they also translated into the local language, particularly in Ghana. The Basel mission had a lot of places in Ghana and in Equiapem and Kwaku. So those are the places that they established themselves a lot. And so they did a lot of translation in Ghana, and not just the Bible, but they translated even the Lord's Prayer, the Ten Commandments, and portions so that they could use them to teach the people. So they translated both in English and also in the local dialect. Now, this other point is very important. In terms of agriculture, the Basel mission planted a lot of farms, and they did a lot. Now, this is important to let you know that the Basel mission is noted to have been the first people to have brought cocoa to Ghana. The first cocoa bean was brought by the Basel mission. Yes, they were the first. But in Ghanaian history, when we talk about cocoa, we talk about it as having come from Fernando Po. Yes, but the Basel mission brought one. Now, what really happened was that they brought a breed that was not good with our climate over here. And so they had a blacksmith shop where Tete Kwashi was working. So he was working in the blacksmith shop, and he saw in the Basel Mission farms the cocoa bean. That was how, when he found his way in Fernando Po and he saw the bean, he could recognize that, oh, this one I've seen one before. So he stole those ones and then brought them to Ghana, and they flourished. But if we want to be fair to history, we'll say that the Basel Mission were the first to bring cocoa and plant. Just that the breed was not good enough with our soil over here, so it didn't yield that much. Yeah. And then there were also major contributors in healthcare and education. So like the Catholic mission, the Basel were also very much strong in the area of healthcare and all of that. Now let's talk about my people, the Methodists. Now the Methodist, Wesley Society, were through the act of William de Graft. And William de Graft was an African, and you see, basically he was equally a student of the Castle School, but he felt that, you see, when they read the Bible as an English textbook, it was not explained. So he requested that, look, we should explain it. And his hunch was really because he saw that from the Old Testament, the Jews did not eat pork. But you could also see that the Europeans, their delicacy was pork. So he was arguing that then Christians should not eat pork. And then the Europeans were not happy with him. So eventually he was thrown out of the school. But he mobilized the people that supported his position, and so they were meeting in Cape Coast and doing kind of Bible study, but they didn't have a Bible, and so he went to work at Deskov in secondary Deskov in a part of the western part, and at Deskov he met a ship captain, Captain Porter, who was a Christian. So he asked for a Bible, and when this Captain Porter, who was Methodist, went to Europe and was coming, he went to the Western Mission and told them that no, instead of just bringing the Bible, why don't they come with a missionary? It was then that they brought Joseph Rhodes Dunwell. Dunwell was brought, and then when he came, in no time he died because of health. And then George Winkley and his wife came, they also died. Peter Hellerup also came and he also died. And then later they brought in an African breed, Thomas Beck Freeman, to do the missionary work. In terms of impact, again, the Methodists have been very impactful in the way of education and health. You know many of the Methodist schools, you know many of the Methodist health centers and in various places. And the Methodists did not only go into as it were orthodox healing, but they also branched into herbal medicine and all of this. So they have a whole center where they develop those drugs. And then in the area of agriculture, the Methodists have been very strong. There are a lot of Methodist farms, and they were also involved in some level of translation also. Now let's talk about the Bremen Mission. They started as the Norwich Mission and was founded in Hamburg 1836. And it concentrated its work from the 1847 on, and they settled among the Ewe people in the Volta region, so their presence is very much felt. But since 1851, the Bremen Mission has its seat in Bremen, and therefore is known in West Africa as the Bremen Mission or Mission de Bremen. They have also been very impactful in the area of education, the area of health, and the area of translation. Particularly in the area of translation, they took many of their people to Germany to teach them, and then they bring them back. That was what they were doing. Now, in terms of these missions, the Wesley Mission, the Catholic Mission, the Basel Mission, the Bremen Mission, these missionary groups that came, they had a number of challenges, and one of them was language, and I think I've mentioned it. Translation. They needed to reach the people. The people needed to understand them, but how would they do that? And so translation was a real problem for them. And then finance, money, l'argent was also a problem, because money is not easy to come by. And then health, the way they were dying almost all the time, dying. White man's grave. Now, this is very important. You see, as a result of the challenges of health particularly and the challenges of finance, there was need to think about what can we do to salvage the situation. What could be done to make the gospel continue to go on without cutting it short? This question was very important. It was then that one of the Europeans called Henry Venn proposed something he called the three selves of mission. Okay, the three self of mission. And here the whole idea was Africanization. How do we make the mission an African way of doing things? How do we make it African so that the Europeans will not continue to infiltrate it, but then the mission will be more African oriented, more African focused, and then all other things will be done. And so Henry Venn proposed the three selves. So the first one is self-governing. This is to say that the church should be led by Africans and not Europeans. And so let's train the Africans. Let them have capacity. Let the leadership of the groups be Africans. We cannot come from Europe and lord it over them. They know themselves and they trust their own leadership. So let's make Africans lead the African people. So self-governing. And then self-financing. Let the Africans plant their own farms, let them generate money, because you see, you are waiting for money from Europe. They will not always come. And so let the Africans finance themselves, and then self-propagation. That is, let the Africans map up strategies to win their own people. You see, the Africans know themselves better, so we cannot always do it for them. So let the Africans lead the evangelization message. Let's equip them, let's give them the capacity, and they will do it. And so these three cells are very important. And almost every year I ask questions on, we ask questions on this Henry Venn strategy of the three cells: self-government, self-financing, and self-propagation. Well, it doesn't mean, it's not arranged in any definite order. You can mix them. So self-governance, self-financing, and self-propagation. These were the strategies that they use. Let the Africans rule themselves and lead themselves, bring out policies and all of those things. Let the Africans raise money to deal with their own problems. You can't always expect money from elsewhere. And then let the Africans be the agents in the spread of the message by themselves. So they were very important strategies. It was as a result of this that some Africans were then nurtured and used. So one of them was Christian Jacob Protein. He was a mulatto, and when I say a mulatto, I'm talking about, let's say, Ofrijato. Yeah, a mulatto who was a pioneering Christian missionary and a schoolmaster in the Gold Coast from the 18th century. He was the son of a daughter of a Ga chief and a Danish soldier father. So you see, so his mother was what they call a queen, a Ga queen, and his father was a Dane. He was taken to Copenhagen, Denmark, at the age of 12 with another mulatto people, Frederick Peterson. He wrote a grammatical introduction to the Fanti and Ga languages. So when he was trained there and he came back, he wrote a book as to a grammar introduction to Fanti and Ga. He also translated Martin Luther's smaller catechism into Ga and Fanti. So he saw the translation that we were talking about. He planned for a boarding school in the Gold Coast, and but he liked drinking too much and was married to an European lady. So this was usually the problem. Sometimes, you see, he had taken on European attitude, and so he had problems. And sometimes when they are married to Europeans, then the people or the local people feel detached from them and are not able to relate very well with them in any way. Sure, so that was Christian Protein. Another was Jacobus Eliezer Johannes Capitan. You can just say Jacobus Capitan. So all in the interest of the Africanization, training Africans to do the work of mission, to plant farms, to make money themselves over here. Some of these people were trained. So Jacobus Capitan was one of the pioneer or formal educationists in the Gold Coast. He may be a Fanti, although nothing is known about his place of birth. He was one of the few Gold Coast Africans educated overseas in the 18th century and returned to undertake educational work in his own country. He was sold as a slave to a ship captain at the age of 7 or 8. He was ordained in Amsterdam on May 17, 1742. And was appointed a preacher and a schoolmaster in Elmina by the authorities of the Dutch Reformed Church. He reduced the local Fanti into writing. So he developed the alphabet for writing Fanti. Capitan revived the Elmina Castle School, and apart from compiling a Fanti Dutch grammar book, he had the Lord's Prayer, part of the Catechism, and the 12 Articles of Beliefs and the 10 Commandments published in Fanti. So you see his contribution to the development of the Fanti language and the local language. But he died in February 1747. So that is also Jacobus Capitan for all his contribution. You see, these are Africans, but when you hear these names, it doesn't sound African, because when they go out there, they adapt those names and all of that. Last, for today is Philip Kwaku. Philip Kwaku, some of you may have heard of him, especially those of you in Cape Coast. We have a whole school named after him. Philip Kwaku was one of the pioneer educator and evangelists in the African mission. He was the son of Obrimpong Kujo, a successful cobbler, a chief of Cape Coast. He was in the company of Thomas Cobbler and William Kujo, who were sent to England, but both of them died, interestingly. One of them had chicken pox and the other got mad when they got to Europe. Hey, you feel food with you. But when Philip Kwaku came back, he opened a small private school for mulatto children, and so in his own room in Cape Coast Cattle. And Kwaku gave religious instructions and taught reading and writing. Arithmetic was also taught by him. He was teaching mathematics and reading and writing to the local people. His religious work did not, however, prosper very well. By 1774, he had only baptized 52 people. Only 52. So, after being here for a long time, he had only baptized 52 people. But it is no small figure, because later it will turn out to be. Now, the major problem of Philip Kwaku was to the effect that he could not speak the local language. So he could not speak the local language when he got back, and he was married to a European lady, and the people did not also like him, and he lacked the Europeans were racist towards Philip Kwaku, and then he also had some financial difficulties as well, so he could not really make the needed impact that he was intended to make in essence. And so that was it with Philip Kwaku. Also, for all that he did a lot. He tried. One of the major things that Philip Kwaku is noted for is the introduction of school uniforms. It was Philip Kwaku who introduced the wearing of school uniforms in Ghanaian educational systems to separate and to mark students from the general public and to make them look smart. And so these people came in and they contributed their quota. They did what they could do or what is expected of them in one way or the other, and then they left the scene when they had to, so that they would make the needed impact. All right, so guys, in all of them, say mindanyeshi oyiwala don oyinye don nyabomodin majonye. So we'll see each other, but more importantly, let me remind you that Saturday we'll have the test. Usually we open it in the morning from 10 to around 6 p.m. or sometimes we even do it like fasting, 6 to 6. 6 to 6. So you go, because Saturday some of you are busy with all kinds of things, but 6 to 6 you go and do it. But we'll give you the modalities, but there will be for 10 marks, but there will be various things. But let me remind you, if Sakai is not appearing on your, so 112 is not appearing on your Sakai, do well to give your name and index number to the teaching assistant Jacob and Ernest, and then let me have it by close of day Thursday, so that by Friday I would have added you, and then you can partake. Because if it's not showing on your Sakai, you can't. And if you wait till Saturday and you give me your index number, I will not be available. And when that happens, you won't be added, and that will go against you. It is for 10 marks, so it's no small marks. So I hope you take it seriously and you do all your very best to be a part of the test. If there are any queries, there are any questions, I'll be available to answer them. Father Michael will equally be available to help. And so, but regarding the books, please, you are not paying. You are not paying. Almost 2,000 students, and as at now, less than 220 have paid. But they will come, and you would need them. We will tell you about IA by close of next week. By close of next week, we'll tell you about IA. And so you just get yourself prepared. As for the slides, be sure we won't give it, because if we give it, unfortunately, you give it to the succeeding group, and we would have to develop new ones. And of course, we change them also. So it's not even fun doing them, and then somebody just gives them out without even a notice. So just try as much as possible to take the note and do the necessary things that you should do, and you'll be fine. You'll do very well. So I'll put the brakes over here and wish you all the very best of the test for 10 marks, and then we'll see how the days will go. So take good care, and I'll see you. Bye. Sure.